Live video on parenting problems and solutions. A very warm welcome to all of you parents who are joining us on this Facebook Live video. I'd like to thank Lifecare Diagnostic Center that has contributed towards organizing this event for us. It helps bridge the gap between parents as an audience and us professionals. My name is Rashi Laskari. I'm a psychologist by profession, working as an individual, marriage and family therapist at Inner Light Counselling Center. It is always a pleasure to reach out to parents. The fact that so many of you are tuning in and watching this video with us, joining us live on this talk, is indicative of your intentions to enrich the lives of your children and your desire to strengthen your parent-child bond and connection with your child. We would be very happy throughout the next 30 to 40 minutes to answer your questions, interact together, hear your stories, and participate as a group to learn more about parenting, the challenges of parenting that we face together, and the solutions for it. I would welcome each one of you to ask your questions, come forward and share your stories so all of us can learn together. Let me begin this event by sharing with you that I am not yet a parent. However, by virtue of being in the field of mental health and participating and working with some of Mumbai's leading educational institutions and schools, I've had the privilege to interact with, learn from stories of over thousands of parents. And what I really cherish from all of those interactions is that parenting is a great privilege. However taxing, overwhelming, tiring it may seem with its challenges, it is yet a great privilege. It is yet a very positive responsibility. Why do I say that? I'd like to give you that thought. Who created you? If your answer is God or some bigger power that created you, that brought you into this world, then that same bigger power has contributed or has played a role in bringing your child into this world through you, of course. So you are the medium that power has trusted. You have been trusted to take care of, to provide for, to nourish your child into this world and shoulder that responsibility for bringing them up beautifully. That power believes in your capabilities to be able to do that. So in that sense, you're not just producing your child by keeping them in your womb for 9 months, but you're also helping them grow. You're also channeling their energies. You're also shaping their personalities and their behavioral characteristics to ready them as individuals, as responsible individuals in the society. I'd like to remind you, we're right now on a Facebook Live video welcoming questions and ready to discuss problems faced by parents in today's Facebook Live event over the next 30 minutes, organized in collaboration with Lifecare Diagnostic Center. Let's continue understanding something more about parenting and its relation with our childhood. Today, all of us as adults, as parents, do understand that we've had experiences in our childhood as well. And those experiences have contributed to shape our personalities in more ways than we can understand. So think about your own childhood. Give that a thought. All the messages that we learned or that we received as a child from our teachers, from our friends, parents, all experiences that we've had, we've learned from all of that. So we learn from our childhood experiences how to talk, how to trust, how to communicate, how to sometimes not communicate. All of these things come from our childhood. But one of the key ways, one of the major ways in which we learn through our childhood is by way of observation. That means that everybody has learned by observing people in their environment, maybe their primary caregivers, grandparents, parents. It is that observation that is really the first learning mechanism for your child. Your child is not just learning from experiences that are happening in his environment, of course, but is also learning by watching you. So if you as a parent have been worried, have been thinking about what should I teach my child, what values should I instill in my child, how should I make sure that I'm giving them the right morals, the first thing that you really need to focus on before you focus on all of these worries and stressors, let's first focus on how you choose to live. If you're confident, if you're comfortable about your choices as an adult, as an individual, your child is watching you constantly. And while watching you, your child is learning from you. Like I said, we would be taking up questions and it would be our earnest effort to take in as many questions as we can. I'm very happy to welcome all of those participants who have joined us already and some of those who are joining us now. Let's begin with answering some of your questions and then we'll continue learning from them. We have our first question that has come from Miss Yasmin. I have only one child. My family says I am overprotective about her. Can this hamper her personality? This is a common question that I understand many parents who have a single child may be experiencing because they see their child as their only the only place where they can put in all their energies and bring that child up with all that they have to give. And in that process, sometimes they do tend to get overprotective, or if I may use, instead of the word overprotective, they tend to overparent the child. Please understand your child first as an individual, first as someone who has the understanding, the knowledge, the awareness to decide for themselves, to look at life and learn from their own experiences. As a parent, of course, you're supposed to be there, be their guardian, be their support system, be there for them, but not always take every decision for them. So if you think that you are being overprotective, you may need to introspect a little bit and draw some boundaries for yourself to understand that what are the areas that I do need to help my child with, and what are some of those areas that I can allow my child to decide for themselves. You must protect, you must parent your child, do not overparent. Let's take the next question. My child goes to an international school and compares himself with others, asking me for pocket money that I consider unreasonable. What should I do? This is a good question, Mr. Irfan. I understand the challenges that you must be facing with a situation such as this, where often parents feel that the expectations of their child monetarily are sometimes more than they can provide for. And this is, of course, likely to be coming from some sort of an influence that your child is having. It could be in school by way of peer pressure or peer influence. It could be social media, the other media channels where they are looking at a particular lifestyle and believing that they like to adapt that lifestyle. So not necessarily just school, it could be coming from other sources as well. What I would recommend to you in a situation like this is don't be harsh to your child, don't overreact to their demands or their don't explain the demand as unreasonable to them. Show that understanding to your child that when they see others spending or when they see others doing something, it's acceptable for them to feel like doing the similar things. And yet, in a very friendly, congenial way, try and sit down and have a conversation with them about your financial setup, about how you have possibly worked hard for your family to reach the financial status that you are at. It will really help if you give your child the larger picture, if you give them a chance to partner with you in the planning, in the understanding of how finances for the household work. In that sense, the child can be understanding and accepting not just of reasonable expectations from parents, but will also help the child develop respect towards parents and their contribution towards finances and how hard they work to be able to provide for basic necessities such as education, travel, entertainment, so on. I'm sure your child will be a lot more understanding if you can explain this to him in a more accepting and loving manner. Please give some tips for parenting my teenager. This is the next question that has come from Mr. Vijay Shinde. Teenagers are parents of teenagers, as often known as parent teens. I do understand that there are a lot of difficulties that parents go through when children enter the teenage phase, because they're discovering a lot about themselves in that phase, and not just hormonal changes but also social expectations. Their own curiosity leads them to behave in ways that sometimes becomes difficult for parents. Some basic tips that I could possibly give you for teenagers would be to listen to them. One of the things that happens not so frequently, and first tip would be just listen more. Give them time, try and spend more quality time talking to them about what is happening in their daily routine, how they like to spend time with their friends, what are the kind of interests that they are developing, and other things, not just academic related, but about their lives, their emotions. In the process of that conversation, you should also try and contribute with your own life stories. Share with them your experiences as a teenager, the struggles you went through, how you came about them. This practice of listening and conversation will really help your child to develop an emotional intelligence, will help them grow in a more balanced and effective way. So first tip would be to really listen to your children and give them a chance to speak and to understand you. Another tip that I would like to give parents, not just for a teenager but otherwise, is to be more accepting towards your children. As parents, there is a tendency parents have to have certain rules or certain checklists that they expect their children to keep up to. And it may not always happen that the child is able to match that checklist, is able to match your expectation of grades or expectation of behaviors. So the more acceptance, the more unconditional acceptance and love you're able to give to your child, the easier it will be for your child to connect with you. Let's go forward. I'm sure that throughout our question answer round, the more questions that would be answered, you will be able to receive more tips to handle not just your teenager but other children also. Let's try and take the next question coming from Dipali Samant. I have two children. We try to pamper the younger one. We tend to pamper the younger one at times. This is causing fights between both my kids. I don't know how to handle. Thank you, Dipali, for this question. I would like to take a moment to explain this to you by saying that children are at different stages of their lives, and both your children, and at different stages, their needs are also different. A toddler, a young child, their needs would be to just have affection or playtime, or need to be caressed and loved physically, and that is just their need. But if we talk of an older child who is probably in their preteens or heading in that direction, their needs are different. They probably want to talk about what's happening at school or talk about their problems. So you need to be able to identify what the needs are. Maybe it is easier for you as a parent in your routine to provide for the needs of the younger one, but you need to be able to draw that balance for both your children's needs and remove time, make a conscious effort to take care of both their needs and not just that of one child. It is obvious that if your older one notices you being more aware and more participative with the younger sibling, it may develop some sort of a sibling rivalry or issues between them, which may be a larger problem to deal with in the future. So if you're becoming aware of this tendency for now, that is a great thing. You should work on it. You should be more conscious about it. Discuss with your partner how you can maybe divide responsibilities and take care of each child's need and be able to draw that balance. Let's take the next question by Mr. Rohar. My child visits school counselor, but no improvement. As one counselor is taking care of full school, what should I do? Okay, slightly difficult for us to answer this. So now most schools have, as parents are aware, most schools have a rule which is mandatory to have a school counselor, and a school counselor or a remedial educator or a special educator are there in school to be able to help your child, to be able to provide for any kind of emotional, academic, behavioral concerns that students of that school go through. If you are facing this problem where your child is going to the school counselor but you're not able to see any improvement, I do understand your observation that one counselor is taking care of a huge number of students. You may want to reach out to either the coordinator or the school administration to bring this up. You could also have an open chat about this with the counselor themselves to share your observations of a lack of improvement and maybe understand how you could contribute to the process. There may be a need that you may want to also begin therapy outside of school if there's anything urgent that needs attention. So without any hesitation, in the best interest of your child, I would recommend that you discuss this observation with the school counselor, and I'm sure that they would be understanding and accepting of this to help you as parents in that space. Let's take the next question. Coming by Mr. Nilesh. I'm very happy and thanking each one of you for such wonderful participation, also inviting some people who are still joining in. Let's take up the next question that says, my ward has seen many fights in the household and has become quiet and reserved ever since. How can I help overcome? Okay. We do understand, like we spoke sometime previously for those of you who've joined in a little late, that what we see as part of our childhood, the experiences that we have really shape our personality and really contribute towards how we look at life and how we handle situations. So firstly, to begin with, as parents, it is your responsibility to make sure that any kind of fights or any kind of aggressive conversation, communication, differences are not being resolved in the child's presence. As parents, please be careful about the child not witnessing any kind of harsh language or anger between either parents or other family members, because this really has an impact on the child's mind, on how he perceives or she perceives relationships and how they see a lack of love, because they may not express themselves so much in words or in thought, but they really may imbibe a lot that you as parents may not be able to understand, and that may reflect in their behavior. So first, try and take that responsibility or conscious decision between as a family to not do that. In your case, if this has already happened, that your child has seen certain fights in the household, try and have a conversation, a loving conversation with your child. Try to explain to them that there are certain differences that may happen at times, and try and help them in some ways to distance themselves from the issues that happen at home. For that, you will also have to, as parents, provide them with a loving environment, irrespective of any issues or any differences going on in the house, but also explain to the child that they need not get impacted or need not get affected by what is happening, and they can remain distanced from it. It is not, it will be very important for you to explain to the child that it is not because of them. If you say that your child has become quiet and reserved, maybe this is one of the things that you need to address. When children see parents fighting, They assume that they are the cause of the fight, which is more often than not, it's not true. So please address that, try and talk to your child about it, explain and resolve that matter so they are not going forward with any misconceived notions. Thank you so much. We're getting a lot of thumbs ups and participation from all our viewers of Lifecare. Thank you. We're going to go ahead, take the next question. When should I consider consulting a psychologist or psychiatrist about my child's issues? Okay, let's answer this in this way, that many parents have this belief that only when there is a major problem or only when I need a diagnosis for a disorder or learning disabilities, when I need to reach out to a professional. I'll ask you a simple question then. Do you go to the beauty parlor regularly, or do you go to the beauty parlor only when it is a serious problem or there's something that's happened? We don't do that. We go visit a parlor to take care of ourselves or to beautify ourselves on a regular basis. Why? Only so that we are able to maintain a regularity, a discipline in taking care of ourselves, taking care of our physical selves or the way we look. Now, if I apply the same principle to taking care of yourself emotionally, taking care of yourself behaviorally, you need to understand this from your child's perspective. As a growing child, there will be many issues that your child is going through, is facing, sometimes difficulties, sometimes anxiety, social anxiety, peer pressure, and they may not be able to talk about it to many people. So, or may not be able to find solutions. So, you need not, you don't have to reach out to a psychiatrist or a psychologist only when there is a major problem. Even as regular practice, if you see that your child is not able to cope with certain situations, is finding difficulty in managing their behavior or concentration, and you feel that learning certain skills can help direct your child in the right space, can help them become more confident, more focused, more, improve their concentration, depending on that's your judgment to understand when you feel that the child needs help. The only thing I like to say is don't wait for it to be a major problem. So you could decide when your child needs therapy, needs guidance, and we can take it further in that way. I'm going to take the next question from Ms. Rashi. My daughter seems to have difficulty reading and writing. Could she have learning disability? Well, to answer your question directly, could she have? Yes, there is a possibility, but I would not like to rush into that diagnosis, and I would also suggest you not to. We don't know clearly how old your daughter is, but a learning disability is something that needs a diagnostic tool to be able to be sure that the child has a learning disability. So just on the basis of her not being able to read or write, don't rush into that. If you are since your child is going to school, I'm sure that teachers and the school staff would be able to recognize any kind of difficulty, and if she's already in the third grade or fourth grade upwards, if you feel that she's still not able to catch up with class level, then you should reach out to your school administration, to your teachers, to find out the protocol, the procedure, to have some assessments done, some investigations done towards the study patterns. Only once you are done with that investigations, or once you have your report, the assessments done, should you rush into, or should you believe for there to be a learning disability. As best as is possible, whether learning disability or any other concern, parents, please refrain from using any diagnostic labels with your children, because these labels can do more damage than good, and they can remain in the minds of your child, and they can really impact the way they work and impact their confidence levels. So as best as possible, don't rush into diagnosing a problem for your child, and don't use labels. Let's try and go into the next question. Our next question has come up from Ms. Priya, I want my child to score good marks, but he is not interested no matter how much I try. Please help. This is, Ms. Priya, not just to you, but I'd like to address this as a very important area for most parents. I spoke earlier of parents having some sort of checklist to say that if these things happen for our child, we're doing a good job as a parent, and we are making sure that the childhood is on track and is going well. And as part of one of those checklists is also getting good marks. So parents do believe that getting into the best school or best class and then getting the best marks is so important, and they end up focusing only on that. The more you focus just on the child's grade, he's probably lesser he is going to feel motivated to do that. So as adults, I'm sure you understand and accept that just grades does not make your child the best person or the best human being or the best partner or the best employee for that matter. So don't focus so much on good marks. Your emphasis constantly to your child should be on him putting in the best effort towards academics, on him giving his best in preparation, just working hard, not so much about the marks. In the pursuit of motivating their children towards getting marks, parents tend to just focus on academic performance, and that is probably the most typical situation we see even in our interactions with parents in sessions, that is when children tend to become emotionally distanced from parents, because the only conversation that is happening is about what's homework today, what grades did you get. So when your child comes back from school, let that not be the first question you ask your child. Talk to them about other things, about what's happening in school, how they felt about a particular activity, what was the most enjoyable part of their day today, and then discuss about work, homework, grades, etc. Yet, keep your focus more on their hard work, on their effort, their commitment towards studies, and not so much on what marks they grade. Let's move forward. I hope that I have been able to answer your question, and I hope we're being able to help all the parents who are joining us into this Facebook Live event. We're talking about parenting problems and solution. To add that to parents who have just joined in, I'm Rashi Laskari, a psychologist and working in the field of individual, marriage and family therapy. We're happy that a lot of people are giving us very positive comments and are participating with us through this live Facebook Live event. I'm going to take on the next question that has come from Miss Sarthi. My daughter cries every day for going to morning school. Please help me. Yes, this transition from not going to school to going to school, sometimes transition from going to a play school of 2 hours to longer school for 4 and 5 hours. Transition period is usually very difficult for children to adapt to. They are either facing some sort of separation anxiety with their parents, where they don't want to let go of that, or like you mentioned, it could also be largely because of change of timings. Try and make your effort towards making that schedule more comfortable for your child. It may be that she's not getting enough sleep, which is causing her to be cranky or be uneasy. So you may want to take in a little extra effort to ensure that she gets enough sleep. You could also discuss this with teachers to get their support for some days. Try and assist your child by going with her to school and helping her get comfortable and settle down. And other than that, if your child is crying for going to school, sincere request, please don't get hassled or frustrated, or don't get overwhelmed by that. It is a common practice, common behavioral observation that children do take a little time to adjust to change timings and durations of school, and that is not something that you should be very worried about. Thank you so much. We have some very positive comments coming in that help us and motivate us to keep such live programs going on. Our next question is how to handle the insist child. Sorry, I would like for Mr. Haider to elaborate a bit on that question. If your question is how to handle a child insisting and demanding for things, like I answered that previously in one of the questions, that be more open and be more communicative with your child about what your current circumstances and situations are. Try to involve the child in partnering with you through decision making processes. Let there be a healthy practice of discussion in the house about bigger decisions, and that should really help your child to improve in the habit of insisting for things. Miss Sarika is asking us, I have only one child. I think that this is, family says that I am overprotective about her. Can this hamper her personally? I think this question has been addressed before, yet I'll just take this up quickly in case Miss Sarika has just joined us. That yes, overprotection can really hamper your child's personality, because if you will find yourself taking a lot of decisions for your child, or interfering frequently to decide for them, to tell them what to do or what not to do, the child is really not able to develop their individuality. So what may happen is the child may come to believe or come to conclude that they are not capable enough to decide for themselves, or their decisions are always going to be wrong, which is why my parent always has to tell me what to do or what not to do. And I don't think, although your intention is to protect your child or to provide your child, I don't think it is your intention to let your child grow with a compromised self-confidence, or to let them have poor self-esteem. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind that as best as much as your intention is to be able to provide and protect your child, don't over-parent, don't over-interfere. At times, let them decide for themselves, because that will give them the confidence to take their own decisions, and not just that, that will also give them the confidence to face the consequences of their own decision. That is going to be the real learning or real grooming of your child's personality. I am taking the next question from Miss Lakshmi. My son wants to stay awake late at night and watch movies with me and my husband. I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Yes, I understand the dilemma that you are going through, and with the kind of hectic lifestyles that most working people have in Bombay, it is very likely that as couples you don't find time to to spend quality time together with each other. And when you do find that time at night, you want to do things together as a husband and wife, and that is also the time that your child may want to do things together with you. I do understand your dilemma. The right way to deal with that is to draw some ground rules for your family. Maybe decide on a fixed time of the week, decide on a day of the week when you would do things together, make a Friday movie night plan, which is a fixed plan with your child. So let your child know and be told that every Friday is the day that we will be watching a movie together, so he doesn't feel like he's missing out on doing something with you as with his parents. Other than that, also try and define some pockets of time that you spend with your child, that is your quality time, maybe just as a mother, just with father, and together as a family, so that he doesn't feel like he's missing out. Other than that, let your child be told and explained in a loving manner that there are certain things that parents may want to do as a habit, as they are spending time together, and let him develop a practice to engage himself in some other hobby at that time. So let him engage himself in reading or in some other activity that keeps him engrossed, and that is also the way that he would learn to understand boundaries. So that is the way that you should handle this situation. Thank you so much for all the comments that are coming in. Ms. Preeti, Prachi, thank you very much for all the people who are giving us wonderful encouragement for doing programs like this. I'm moving forward to the next question. My son is an 8-year-old. He doesn't allow me and my husband to talk. He feels we would land up arguing with each other. How shall I make him understand? Uh, where has your son developed? It may be important first as a parent for you to understand where has your son developed this idea from that when parents will talk, they will have a fight. So first, you may want to look into that. Has he seen you as parents fighting frequently? Has he seen other important family members or couples fight? From where has he imbibed this that if you talk, you will fight? And then please try and resolve that misconception for the child. Remember, children don't always speak their thoughts out in words. They show it in their behaviors, they show it in their emotions. So try and clear the confusion for him. Try and show him, tell him about the love and affection that you share as a family. Try to also demonstrate that love and affection in his presence so that he learns. He learns by observation. He learns by seeing that his parents do communicate and there are no fights. If you try too hard to break that thought for him, that may not be as effective as will be when you show it to him by example, by experience. So try and keep your focus on that. Behave in ways that he watches you and his fears are taken care of. Let's take the next question from Miss Neela. My daughter is very weak as she doesn't want to eat homemade food. Please help me with this. Yes, Ms. Savant, a lot of parents face this difficulty where children either refuse to eat or there are a lot of tantrums about what kind of food they want to eat. And as much as I understand this to be a challenge for parents, but that is the way to go forward. You have to really put in some efforts towards making interesting food items or to kind of make sure that healthy vegetables and nutritious food is given to them in disguise in more attractive and pleasing ways. So that is something that you should try and do. It would be by way of more interesting food items that look interesting, something new that they haven't tried. Even the food that she eats outside of home, if can be prepared at home, can have a nutritional element to it. So try and work in that way so that you introduce new food items. Children at whatever age your daughter is are still really developing in their taste buds. So don't think of them as being very rigid. They are flexible as long as you are able to introduce more things to them, and that would really help her become more accepting towards different food items. Let's take the next question. Can parental counseling help change child's behavior? I would take up this question because in a broader sense, because one of the things that we get asked very often in the workshops that we do and the parents who come to meet us at schools, etc., we get this question very often where parents say that does parental personality impact my child? So is it the way my husband is or the way I am? Does that impact my child? I know I'm moving a little away from your question, but I'll come to that. That the way we conduct ourselves in our day-to-day life, I began with sharing that, has a direct influence on the child because they're watching you, they're learning from you. Your child is really like a CCTV camera, constantly watching you, constantly learning from you, and that's what is going to have an influence on their behavior. So when parental personalities are, can have such a strong influence on the child, parental counseling can also help the child in many ways. You're also probably being a parent for the first time. Nobody really has a degree in parenting and reaching out for therapy, reaching out for counseling can help you as a parent to understand how to address the issues, how to tackle the problems that we go through in providing for our growing child their growing needs, and how to be able to draw that balance between you as a wife, you as a husband versus you as a parent. So parental counseling has a very positive impact on children. There are situations in which just parents come to us for counseling, not even the child, and that by itself has a positive impact on how children grow and how they begin to communicate and begin to reciprocate positive emotions to their parents. I hope that I have been able to answer effectively most of the questions that we have. We have just last 5 minutes to the Facebook Live video on parental problems and solutions, and we're trying our best to give you as much information and share with you as much knowledge that we can to help all you parents. We know that as parents, it is your sincere intention to be able to do the best for your child. And whenever there is a need, whenever you feel that there is an aspect of your child's life that you're not able to cope with, that you don't know how to handle, how to take care of, don't refrain, don't shy away from reaching out to a professional. You can talk to your doctor, talk to your counselor, psychologist, a psychiatrist, reach out for help. Please be assured that a therapist is really never going to judge you or your role as a parent. There's always going to be that understanding that you're doing the best that you know in your capacity, and moving forward from there, therapy or counseling can really help you and your child to improvise, improve, and to be able to connect better in many ways. Having said this, we'd also like to share with you that you have to understand your child as nothing but an extension of you. So if we look at a tree, the branches of that tree, which are the extension, if the tree, the roots are well nourished, they are well taken care of, they're luscious and growing, that's what the branches are going to be like. If the tree is a mango tree and that's the seeds and those are the fruits are going to be of mango. Which brings me to tell you that if you as a parent are going to be emotionally healthy, are going to lead happy, balanced lives, that those are going to be the branches of your tree. Your children are going to live more emotionally balanced, healthy lives. So if your focus has been, if you have been worrying a lot about taking care of your child's emotional health, please first focus on your own emotional health, and that indirectly will have an impact, will have a positive influence on your child and their growth. Lastly, let's quickly address few of the areas that we would like to talk to you about, some of the common questions that parents ask us, and maybe that may help a lot of you parents to find answers to issues that you may be facing. We hear from parents say that my child doesn't share a lot with me nowadays. They are not opening up, and they are not really disclosing a lot that happens in their lives with us. And I'd like to bring to your notice that as parents, there is a tendency to become very critical or very judgmental about what your child is doing. I do understand that that is coming from a sense of fear that I hope my child doesn't go wrong. I hope he doesn't go on any bad track, and you want to protect them from that. But in that process, you tend to be overcritical, over-judgmental. Please begin to practice more acceptance towards your child. Even if your child is doing something or has committed something that is wrong in behavior, show acceptance towards them, to say that it's okay for you to have felt that. Your child has bunked school, has decided to go somewhere without telling you. First, begin with showing them that acceptance, that I understand you feel like doing that. You're not pushing the child away by saying, how could you, and it's wrong, and label them with different harsh terms, but show them an acceptance to say that I understand you feel like doing it. However, then take forward that discussion to explain to them that this is not okay, or this is when you should or should not be doing something. Show acceptance to your parent, to your children. Show that unconditional love so that they are able to see that emotional distance between you and them to reduce. More often than not, when children don't talk, don't open up with their parents, it is coming more because they feel very emotionally distanced. And that is that emotional distance, that gap that you need to bridge. The only way to bridge it, let's quickly sum up and take a few points from this discussion. Show your children unconditional acceptance. Shower them with as much love, as much conversation, as much listening as is possible for you. Every day, as simplistic as this sounds, but every day as a parent, you have to remove half an hour to spend exclusive, mind you, exclusive quality time with your child. No distractions, no devices, no chatting with someone else while being with the child. Let your child feel that emotional connection with you when they get that half hour of talking time. It could be half an hour a day, it could be 3 to 4 hours in a week. What are you investing really? To your parents over a month, you're probably giving your child 10, 12 hours of exclusive time. And just that much investment in time can help your child feel connected with you. Just that connection is the solution to a lot of emotional academic problems, a lot of behavioral problems that children go through. I hope that today's session has been insightful. It has been a great experience for me to be able to use this platform and to reach out to a lot of you parents who have participated with us, asked us such relevant questions. It is always very encouraging to hear the positive comments and the motivation that is coming from all of you. We hope to continue such events, and we hope to reach out to you as parents for parental problems or even for other individual counseling related issues through Lifecare Diagnostic Center's Facebook channel. Thank you so much for participating with us. We hope that it has been as enjoyable for you as it has been for us. Thank you.